Alright, let's talk about what's happening in the Middle East right now because, holy cow, things are spiraling. Imagine a game of chess where every move triggers a countermove, but instead of a board, it's the entire region teetering on the edge of chaos. Iran just launched missiles at US bases in Jordan, and then the US and Saudi Arabia bombed Iran-backed groups in Iraq. But here's the kicker, nobody can even agree on who hit first. That's not just confusing, it's terrifying. Because when you've got countries trading blows in the dark, miscalculations happen. And miscalculations start wars. Now, let's unpack this. Iran's attack on Jordan. Totally predictable if you've been paying attention. They've been targeting US assets in the Gulf since February, right? But Jordan. That's not a Gulf country. It's a quiet neighbor that hosts around 4,000 US troops. Why strike there? Here's my take. Iran's leadership sees deterrence as a game of psychological warfare. They want the US to feel vulnerable everywhere, not just in obvious hotspots. And if reports about the US running low on interceptors are true, Iran's thinking, hey, we can push harder here. It's like they're poking a bear with a stick, testing how much pressure they can apply before the bear actually bites back. But wait, the US and Saudi Arabia retaliating in Iraq. That's where things get really messy. Saudi Arabia has been hit by drone attacks allegedly orchestrated by Iran via Iraqi proxies. So they're saying, enough. But bombing Iraq? That's not just a slap at Iran, it's a message to everyone in the region, we're not messing around. Except here's the problem, this isn't a clean counterstrike. The targets were Iraqi militia groups, some tied to Iran, but Iraq itself didn't declare war on anyone. So now you've got a sovereign nation getting pummeled by foreign powers, and Baghdad scrambling to respond. That's not conflict resolution, that's gasoline on a fire. What I find fascinating, and deeply alarming, is how both sides are dancing around direct war. Iran isn't attacking US soil. The US isn't bombing Tehran. Instead, they're using proxies, striking symbolic targets, and leaking ambiguous statements to the press. It's 21st century brinkmanship. And the rest of the world's watching, wondering, is this how World War III starts? Because let's not kid ourselves, the Houthis are blockading the Red Sea. Ukraine's accusing Iran of shipping weapons via the Caspian Sea. Even Pakistan's getting dragged in as a mediator, pleading, please stop before we all get sucked in. This isn't a localized conflict anymore. It's a spiderweb of retaliation, and one wrong tug could collapse the whole thing. So what's the end game here? Diplomats are still talking, Oman's floating proposals about Hormuz Strait tolls, the EU's trying to negotiate in the shadows. But here's the reality check, when you've got Iranian hardliners who genuinely believe they're in an existential struggle with the West, and a US administration under Trump that's all bluster and no strategy, diplomacy feels like trying to plug a dam with bubblegum. The real danger isn't today's missiles or tomorrow's airstrikes. It's the normalization of perpetual conflict. A world where drone attacks, military posturing, and shadow wars become the new normal. And let's be honest, normalizing that chaos is exactly what both sides want. One side calls it resistance. The other calls it security. But it's all just fuel for a fire that nobody knows how to put out. Before we wrap, I'll leave you with this, history is full of conflicts that nobody wanted but happened anyway. The Middle East isn't just a battleground for regional rivals, it's the fulcrum of global stability. So when you see headlines about missile strikes and retaliatory bombings, don't just scroll past. Ask yourself, are we witnessing the slow-motion collapse of the international order? Or is there still time to slam the brakes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because trust me, this story's far from over.